Hi, my name is Aysia Gilbert. That's Aysia. I am here with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And I am here with
Marysa Morales, Marysa.
And Roxanne Morales, Roxanne Morales, and I am the mother of Augustine Morales.
And I am the daughter of Augustine Morales. My name is Seselie Morales, Seselie.
All right. And what's your relationship to Augustine?
I'm the sister of Augustine Morales.
All right. So, as we get started today, could you guys tell me a little bit about Augustine?
Sure. He was a father. He was a grandfather.
He was a big brother, protector. He was an uncle. He was an entrepreneur. He had his own business, which is the 80s Babies clothing line right there. He did just a lot of things in the community. He actually was a community, you could say activist. Every Christmas, he would do a Christmas give back for 3 different communities, 3 different neighborhoods in Sacramento, California, and he would just go into the communities where some of these kids may not ever even get a Christmas gift, and that was his thing, was to go back into those communities and give back out of pocket. It wasn't a nonprofit, it wasn't anything, it was just something, his own heart.
Wow.
And his own spirit that just, God just kind of put on his heart to do that. And so that's what he did every single year. We just celebrated his 6th year. We continued it since he passed away in November of last year. We continued it as a family, and our goal is to continue every year, just continuing his dream and his legacy.
Yeah. Could you guys tell me a little bit about what happened to Augustine?
So Augustine, there was an event, a community event in Sacramento, and kind of like, long story short, it seemed like, or rumor has it, that somebody had a gun. And so what I believe is that my brother, then somebody either gave him a gun, because he is a registered gun owner, but that wasn't his gun, the gun that he ended up having that night. So I don't know if somebody gave him one or what, but I think that his natural instinct would have been to defend. So I think he was trying to defend because somebody else had a gun. An officer came on scene. Within 30 seconds of the officer stepping on scene, somebody started shooting. It was not my brother, but the officer just started shooting in my brother's back. 13 rounds, so he emptied his whole magazine into his back, shot him 11 times, did not instantly kill him. After he shot the 13 rounds, then he told my brother, drop your weapon, police. Actually, I don't even think he still announced himself. I think he just said, drop your weapon. And when the officer was coming back up to my brother, the light is flashing and everything, you can actually see on the floor that the weapon and the magazine was released from the weapon. It was all on the floor, and then the officer told my brother to crawl out towards him, come out a little bit towards him, because his back was still turned. His back was still towards the officer, so the officer said to, turn around and crawl towards him. So when my brother did that, his weapon was on the floor, and so he slid it. And that's the way the media is portraying it, like, oh, now he finally gave up his gun. But it's not the truth, because when you watch the unedited version, you can see it was already on the floor. And even when he slides it, you can hear how hollow the gun is. It almost sounds fake, because, it was already empty. He had already...
The magazine.
Yeah, the magazine was on the floor. So then the officer tells him, to crawl out towards him. So he does, and he is obeying every single command that the officer says. There's one point where my brother kind of starts patting his back, because I think he could probably feel the blood, So he starts kind of patting himself, and the officer's like, hey, get your hands from behind your back, put your hands up, and he immediately does. So, everything, he was just obeying the officer. So had that officer, if he would have came on scene and just said, stop, police, drop your weapon, my brother would have been like, oh, cool, help is here, right? Drop the weapon. But it just goes to show, he would have listened, because even after being shot 11 times and you're still complying, he wasn't being rude, he wasn't being disrespectful, he wasn't yelling. All he kept saying was, I didn't shoot nobody. So those were my brother's last words. 6 times, I didn't shoot nobody. I didn't shoot nobody. And that's the hard part, right? Is because it's like this officer came on without assessing the situation. He just went off of some hearsay. Yeah, he didn't announce himself. They were saying that my brother, was waving a gun recklessly around, which wasn't true when we saw the video. And the only person that was reckless that night was the officer, because the officer was shooting in the direction where the crowd was, and he didn't see if there was anybody in between.
He didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, he could have shot a child, and the video cameras, they do show that there is people like kind of hiding. So where my brother was when he was shot was he was standing in between two vehicles, and there's people on the front of the vehicle on the side hiding. So that could have been somebody just right there, and the officer could have shot him. The officer, some of the bullets went through a building, because it was like a warehouse building. They went through, which is where the event was taking place. So there was hundreds of people in that building, and the bullets went through because it was just little sheetrock type of material. So yeah. And then there was still another shooter that's we don't know anything what's going on with the case, who it is, if they've caught that person. We have no idea, but there was that person who was the actual shooter that night.
And you can see that on the video as well. They show the cops show where the shooter is shooting out of the building.
Yeah.
And then my daughter listened to all the tapes and all the videos, and the officer did say on his mic at that moment that he saw a shooter out of his peripheral vision, but still decided to shoot my son.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you all find out about the passing of your brother, your son, your dad?
Actually, I got a phone call from my granddaughter because they were looking for him. She had heard that there was a shooting at the event that she knew her dad was going to. And so she called me and she said, Grandma, we can't find my dad, or my daddy. She called him Daddy, because I can't find my daddy. And she said, we're calling him. I said, I'm going to come right down. And so we go, and they have it all cordoned off. And I'm asking, I just need to know if it's my son. And they would not tell me. So we waited. That happened at 8 o'clock at night. It wasn't until the following morning at 6 o'clock in the morning that they came to tell me that it was my son. But other than that, we would have never known if she didn't hear that there was a shooting at the event her daddy attended.
Yeah.
But that was how we knew.
Yeah. And how old was he? What day did this happen? Where is this at?
It happened November 14th, 2020. Augustine was 38 years old when he was murdered.
Yeah.
And like we said, he's a father and a grandfather.
Yeah. I know. Can you talk a little bit more about his family, his children, his grandchildren?
What do you want to do?
So we actually have 2 of his grandchildren here. I don't know if they kind of want to make their way. So these are 2 of his, 2 out of 3, 4th one on the way that he's never going to ever meet.
Yeah.
But these are 2 of his grandchildren right here. Amaya and Nevaeh. One on the way.
Congratulations.
And then one that lives in San Diego. And then he has 3 children. The oldest is his daughter Seselie. Then he has Augustine Jr., who is 11. I almost said 12, but I'm like, no, I'm making him too old. 11. And then we found out a month after my brother had died that his girlfriend was pregnant with their 2nd child. So that child will never, ever know,
His name is Angelo.
Yeah, baby Angelo. Will never know his dad. And my brother didn't even know that he was having another child.
Could you tell us about the impact it's had on your family?
It's honestly been a nightmare. It's something that, like, not a day goes by where, you know, we're not impacted in some way or another.
Just say it.
They took our protector.
We have a family photo. We have 2 family photos, actually, one taken just months before he was murdered. And he's the only man in the photo. He was our protector. No matter what, he was always there for his baby girl. Even when she was older and she needed her daddy, she could call him and he was there for her. That's all gone.
We don't have, you know, we don't have our protector. We don't have, kind of in the community, you know, they always talk about absent fathers and there being a lack of presence from fathers.
But it's
But now it's like, now that we're hearing so many other stories,
you took them from
it's because you robbed us. You took the man of the family from us, you know. You took this father who was involved in his kid's life. So him and his son were best friends. I mean, literally, they were close every day. You know what I mean? There wasn't really a day that they didn't spend together, unless my brother was, you know, with his business, like on tour, you know, business trips. Otherwise, he was with his son every single day. And now he doesn't get that anymore. Yeah. So we have been robbed. It has impacted our family, you know, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, everything, you know, everything. You know, we should be able to be in DC celebrating with him here, right? Like, we should be taking family trips here, not for this cause, you know? So it's impacted us beyond belief. You know, the whole justice system, and when it's these kind of cases, it really feels really hopeless. I know that if I knew the killer of my brother, if it was anybody else, they would go arrest that person, some justice would be served.
Right.
But in this case, we're actually having to fight
the people that are supposed to be.
Yes.
just to have the right thing done.
Sacramento PD Jeremiah Jarvis killed my son, murdered my son in cold blood.
And so when we talk about justice, for one, what does justice look like for you? And on top of that, what is going on right now with your brother's case, if there is a case, or are you guys able to fight it? You know, I understood that they were giving you guys some pushback. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's still under investigation. There hasn't been, you know, like a final determination of what they're going to do with that officer, but kind of from what it's looking like, nothing. Because from what we heard and understand is that he's still back on the streets patrolling. So, I mean, it doesn't look like anything's really going to be done.
What does justice look like?
But justice for us looks like having Sergeant Jeremiah Jarvis be prosecuted for murder. You know, and it's not just like, oh yeah, let's give him only 2 to 3 years, you know, because he was a good decorated cop or something, right? No, just like you would do with anybody else on these streets. You know, if anybody else went and shot somebody in the back 11 times, can guarantee they're going to be held accountable.
Yeah.
So we ask, justice for us is to have that officer be held accountable and serve prison time, just like anybody else would.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there anything else that you all want to share about Augustine?
Just that, we miss him dearly. We wish he was here. We don't know why this happened, obviously, just like every other family. But we're just going to try to do our part and get justice, you know, for Augustine, and try to stand with these other families as well and get justice for their families. So.
And finally, what ways can we help honor your brother and keep his name alive? What would you want from us, you know?
I would say just the truth, to have the truth be investigated, because the media, the police reports, there's some discrepancies.
Yeah.
And I know it's not just our story, that's the story countless of these, so to keep his story alive is partly just keeping the truth alive, and keeping that he's a human being, that did not deserve the death penalty.
Yeah.
None of these families here deserve the death penalty. And yet that's what they were all have been served. And so I would say to keep his legacy alive is to tell his story, the truth, support his business even that, we're trying to keep alive right now so that it can carry over to his daughter, his sons, legacy. So that they can to keep that legacy alive.
Do you have a website or anything that you'd like to say for the record that, or how would we get in contact, the business name, anything to put down?
It's 80s Babies, the clothing, with the Z, 80s Babies. His slogan kind of was just 80s born, 90s raised. He has merchandise, so just supporting that for his family, as well as justiceforaugustine.com or .org. Also, if anybody's in any type of financial situation and can help donate for the yearly annual Christmas give back, that would also be, either to donate financially or just donate toys, bring them out and we'll organize them by age and make sure that they get pushed out into the neighborhoods.
You asked how could you help, and honestly, we need the community's help. We have the justice families. They're always going to be here. We're going to be fighting, but without the community, we're not going to be heard. And I was once a community member, and I've heard of the police killing people, and we just automatically assume that the cop had a reason. They don't. And because the media gives that false narrative, the community never finds out the real truth. When the video finally came out, the night that my son was murdered, they had their false narrative that he was told to drop the weapon 3 or 4 times, and he finally complied after being shot. That was not true. My son was never told to drop his weapon. He was shot and then told to drop his weapon, even though it was already on the ground. The community only heard the first narrative.
That's what they believe.
And that's what they believe. Once the real video came out and you can see, that's not what happened, they didn't come back and tell the community, we're sorry, Augustine was never told to drop the weapon. They didn't come back and make it right. So now the community believes that false narrative. What we need is for the community, the media, to tell the truth, and the community to stand up for what's right.
And I'll just say, just to put it on record, my dream is to take all these cases to Supreme Court and to have Supreme Court look at, not all these cases necessarily individually, but our rights are being violated. So for all these families and all these people to get their rights back, right? Our constitutional rights, our Bill of Rights, right, that have been our longest holding law, right, in our country, our founding fathers wrote, is the biggest one I always think about is just being deprived of life without due process, deprived of life and liberty. And that's what they're taking away in a matter of seconds, and they're being justified for it, and that is wrong. That is not the way that our government was established.
Exactly.
And I just feel like my dream would be to take it to Supreme Court and do a class action lawsuit to have all the families under this massive class action lawsuit. And I believe that's the only way that we could really see change across the nation, because there's not one state that has not been impacted by police killings. It happens over 3 times a day. Over 3 times a day. That's too much.
Exactly.
And there's, it needs to go higher. So I believe that Supreme Court is the way to go. That would be my dream. And to really see some actual change, justice for these past killings, but also to prevent them.
Yeah.
You know,
We
if
don't want any other families joining this.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
It's a club you don't want to be a part of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, if we can prevent, you know, there might be some onesies and twosies, but if the officer knows they're going to be held accountable, they're going to think twice, right?
Exactly.
Just like me. Like I tell people, if somebody comes into my house, say rapes my children, robs me, whatever, and I decide to shoot them, I'm going to be held accountable, but I'm going to take pride and take accountability that I protected my family.
Exactly.
I'm not going to hide and say, well, like, no.
Right.
You know, I'm going to take pride in that. So right now, though, I think that the officers, they're just really just trigger happy and just quick to shoot. And the biggest thing that they say is that they were afraid for their life, right? So I'll put that on record right now too. Something that a slogan is just that I like to say to police is, if you fear, get a new career. If you fear, get a new career. You're supposed to be a person of bravery and courage and honor and integrity. And we're not seeing that in our officers right now. We're not seeing bravery. We're not seeing them being courageous or integrity.
Right.
And so that's, I would love for those values to be back instilled into these, you know, police officers and the academies.
I have one more thing to say. The children that are left behind fatherless from police brutality, we don't know the impact yet, and I'm afraid to find out because they don't trust the police. They don't like them. Her daughter, my oldest great-granddaughter, you just saw her, she wanted to go and kick him. She said, Grandma, can I go and just kick him? If I see him, can I kick him? And we all told her that's assault on a police officer.
Don't do it. Don't just
Right. So, but this is the anger that she had. She wanted to hurt him. So, but as they get older, you just don't know.
Yeah, and talking about accountability and them realizing if they are being held accountable, not just what they have to go through, what their children have to go through.
Right.
Because it's something that we have to go through every day now that our dad is gone. And Thanksgiving happened, a week after his death, a week and a half. And I didn't care. The only thing I could think about is that officer is at home with his family and his kids. And my daddy's gone. So I just want them to realize what they're doing to the families. It's not just you're taking somebody off the streets, you're taking a father, you're taking a protector, a grandfather, an uncle, a brother, a son. And I want them to realize that, and I want their children to feel our pain. I want their children to know that their parents need to be held accountable as well as us.
Yeah, what does that tell their kids? That their dad can go and kill people.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your story with us. Don't get up just yet. I do want to get the photos of, all right, I got us. Thank you so much. Can I give you guys a hug?
Thank you. Thank you for doing what you do.